those two questions, Jim and Sue's questions, were cut off. So Sue said she's faith-based missionary, is about 15 years out from formal retirement, but I didn't get the rest of the question, so unfortunately I'm unable to go into it. But how do we best prepare for retirement? I think what she was thinking. Yeah, it's really about big picture-wise, paying down any debt, and then including your home, and then focusing on ploughing as much money into your super fund as possible, in a very simple way. That's what we can explain. Anthony, what are the four most important things we consider when planning for transition to retirement? The first one is, how much can you afford to salary sacrifice? And is salary sacrifice worthwhile? As in, do you earn over $37,000? The second one is, what's the balance of your superannuation? And is it worthwhile moving into pension phase? Because if you've got $40,000 in your fund, moving into pension phase isn't going to get a great amount of benefit for you. So the higher the balance in your fund, the better the benefit of moving to pension phase. The next most important thing is, what age are you? Have you reached your preservation age? If you've reached your preservation age, if you're between 50, if you're 55 to 59, then there's slightly less benefit than if you're 60 plus. So it really gets down to what's your age and is it beneficial for you? Generally, if you're over age 60, then it is beneficial. If you're under between 55 and 59, it really gets down to what your tax rates are. But yeah, generally still beneficial. And I think I've just about covered off 4 points there. Greg, what insurances can be paid out of super, and what are the benefits of paying this way opposed to paying out of after-tax earnings? We covered that off in this session, so go back to that if you want to. Rodney says, what is the best strategy for investing super when close to retirement? How do I get my super fund to spread the risk, or does it really matter? Should it all be in cash? Generally, if you're approaching retirement, say for example that's 65 years of age, you've got 20 years to your life expectancy. That's 20 years of investing. To sit it in cash, you're going to return about 4%, possibly 5%. If you look at inflation at 3.5%, you're only really just maintaining the value of your money. You really need to have some of the money if you want to maintain your purchasing power over that time in other investments as well. And that's where you might move up the spectrum a little bit to, how far up the spectrum you go is it depends on what your tolerance to risk is and how much return you require, but generally you wouldn't sit it all in cash for the long term. For that 20-year period, you want to have some other investments. And then Alan said, what's the most important thing we can be doing as a young couple that would have the biggest impact when we come to retire? The biggest thing, Alana, is paying down non-deductible debt as quickly as possible. So that's credit cards, personal loans, car loans, and then your mortgage. Pay that down as quickly as possible. And then focus on, even before that recommendation of paying down debt, the key thing that many young people miss is spending less than you earn and saving the difference. If you're doing that and you're paying down your debt, then the quicker you can pay down debt, the better it is. And then it's just about boosting your superannuation. So I hope that's helped you, Eleanor. Rachel said, I'm interested in maximising my super and the co-contribution. Well, that really just depends on what your total income is and whether you get the full $1,000 or whether it's just a portion of that. Then we've got Leanne saying, in the Henry report last year, it was put forward that you will be able to access your super prior to... hang on, I've just got a question that's come through. I might answer that because it might have been related to a comment I've just made. My wife and I are both... thanks, Roger. My wife and I both have some super in separate accounts with Christian Super. Are there any advantages in combining our funds, or is that not possible? It's not generally possible. There is this strategy to split your superannuation contributions, but you need to do that. You can only do that on the contributions that you do each year. You can split your contributions once a year. But you could actually at some point in time can buy, say for example, one of you is retired and has got full access to your money, you can pull it all out and contribute it to the other person's fund. That'll save you some money. But depending on what balance you have in your superannuation, it could actually, and if you're getting close to the $500,000 limits, it can have some impact on your contributions limits because they're changing as of 2012. But yeah, this splitting rule, this basically means that all the contributions that you've made into your account can be split over once a year to your spouse's account, and you generally need to do it before you submit your tax return. I think it is each year. Yeah, but you can't just merge the two. You've got to either withdraw the funds and contribute them, or use this splitting thing that can only apply to your amount of funds that you contribute each year. I hope that answers your question there, Roger. Getting back on to Leanne's question. So I just got some other questions via email as well, but I'll answer those later. So Leanne, in the Henry report last year, it was put forward that you will be able to access your super prior to retirement age to purchase investment property. I believe the government did not take this option up. Going forward, do you have any further information on this matter? Now, I don't know whether it was the Henry report, but there might have been some sort of obscure idea that they could use your superannuation money to pay for housing. But based on the sole purpose test, you actually can't use your super money to, purchase your home that you live in. If you set up a self-managed super fund, you can actually buy residential property through your super fund, and you can borrow to invest in that through your super fund now. But yeah, there's not. I don't think there was any plausible or likely option to purchase. To purchase an investment property, you can do it. Yeah, within your super fund, definitely. That's been available for many years. There are a couple of things you can't. You can't own a property outside of your super fund, so a residential property outside of your super fund, and transfer it into your super fund because there's a rule that prevents you from doing it. If you've got a commercial property that you own in your own name, you can transfer that into your super fund, not Christian Super, but your self-managed super fund. But you can't transfer residential properties. But you can invest in investment properties in a super fund. Yeah, definitely, whether that be residential or commercial, but you just can't transfer them in if you own them already. You've got to buy them specifically through your super fund. Hope that answers your question, Leanne. Janine asks, is it possible at age 50 on a low income of approximately $40,000 to still be able to build up super before retirement? Yeah, definitely. I've got people that have had several $1 million and were very concerned about being able to provide for their retirement. And I had people who've earned less than the average wage all their life and are able to live on the government age pension and still save some money. So it really all gets down to what you need to live on. So if you're quite frugal and able to live quite conservatively, then you can save sufficiently. Obviously, if you get a higher income, or you can get some sort of promotion, or if you take advantage of all the government co-contributions, spouse contributions, and even the first home savers account, if you've got access to that, that can help you boost it. But definitely it's possible to save for retirement. But you might look at even an extended retirement, or extending the time that you're working. So you might work part-time for a bit longer to help boost your retirement savings, or not eat into them as much. Rachel said, I'm interested in maximising super and the co-contribution. I think we've answered that already. Anthony says he's interested in preparing for retirement. Countdown started 5 years. Sounds good. Just don't. Yeah, I'm just encourage people if they're of the mentality that they're counting down to retirement because they hate their job, then they need to change their job and do something else. So hopefully that's not the case. You're just planning ahead for the next 5 years. I think we've talked through a number of strategies that can assist. And Colin says, transition to retirement, how does it work and how is it initiated? I think I've explained that largely throughout the session. And further resources. So there we go. Feel free to fire through any questions. You can engage my services, or if you want to support the podcast, then feel free to do that as well. I'd really appreciate it. I think I might have just had one last comment coming through, so I'll just quickly check that. I'm 29 years, currently full-time student, spouse working full-time. Any suggestions specifically to this situation? Good question. Don't know your full details, but you need to make sure that you're taking advantage, depending on what your wife's level of earnings are. Make sure you're getting all the government support you can get. So all the allowances that you might be able to get, whether there's parenting payment, family. I'm not sure whether you have. I didn't say whether you have children, but potentially family tax benefit if you've got children. It's all about getting through the studying period of time. Really, try not to spend more than you're earning. And really not going backwards at all during that period of time. Trying to think of some other strategy. If you don't own your own home, then the first home savers account is a great way to save for you to purchase your first home. Trying to think through some other strategies. Government co-contribution could work in there as well. Spouse contribution if you've got surplus funds. But really it's about, at this stage of life, I think it's about not getting into too much debt. Paying down debt as quickly as possible. Not using credit cards. All that sort of stuff. Hope that answers your question to a degree. Follow up with another question if I haven't answered that well enough, John. And Jim, I think you have a follow-up question, so I'll just open your line. Your line's open, Jim, if you do have a question, or I'm not sure whether that was from before.
I think that might have been from before, Gavin, but I just want to say thank you very much for the information you shared with us tonight. It's been very helpful to me, given me some good ideas, and so I want to say thank you.
Oh, thanks very much, Jim. I appreciate your question, and thanks for the positive feedback there. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, I might sign off.
Yeah, good night. Sweet dreams.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Night.
So if anyone else has any questions, feel free to put them through. Otherwise, I might close the session. I'll just give you a couple of seconds in case you're typing away. But, a couple of moments there just before we close the session. Oh, thanks, John, for the extra details there. Obviously, you just need to reinforce that it's general advice, but no kids, wife earning 45k. Yeah, just a matter of if you have surplus funds, then put it towards debt. If you don't own your home, then saving towards a deposit or paying down the mortgage as quickly as possible. Yeah, I wouldn't focus too much on super apart from a government co-contribution. Just accumulating or paying down the mortgage or accumulating a deposit as quickly as possible would be the key, and making sure you're getting access to all the support you can get. And thanks for your feedback, Anthony, as well. Appreciate that. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, then I might close it off there. But thanks very much for everybody's participation and attention. Really appreciate it. And let me know if I can assist you in any way in the future. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.